2024 Ekber 20 nope 50506 Aldi. Um, Part two. We're getting ready to talk about Manalaris. Um, okay, maybe it was my autistic system that wasn't understanding. Maybe what you were saying was pills. Maybe you were pilling what I was saying. So are you saying that? Okay, okay. Is it true that if we were to make a list individually of things you want to do, it would not occur to you to put working on the treehouse on the list. But you, there is a part of you do want to do it because I want to do it. I don't know whether that's what's happening or whether you're just being a polite piece of shit and who's going to turn around and say, "Oh, you made me work on the treehouse." Um, so yeah, Harris, I don't know. Can't I just, do you want to go to the beach? Uh, I would be happy to go to the beach. Um, yes, let's go to the beach. Let's go to the beach. I'm done with you. Okay. So we've got cup and pill. Um, Cup being, see, here's the thing. Cup can also be used though. Uh, because cupping can just is just what your thing is based on. So whatever you're cupping is the thing you seem to be talking from, the same thing you seem to be um no, but it's about talking from, whereas pill is about responding to. If you're, and this might just be a semantic thing, I'm getting tripped up because of based on. If you're responding based on what I just said, then you are taking, then with the term based on, it's assumed that you are taking into account what I had said and using that as a part of your basis for responding. So that is two pieces. You're responding to me, which means you're pilling, and you're cupping what I said. Okay, and then if you do a straw man, but then I wouldn't even say that you're pilling what I said if you straw man. You're definitely not cupping what I said. What I said went into that system and got all twisted up. And most immediately, what you're cupping is some bastard version of what I said. All right, so I don't know. But for our purposes, and maybe we'll need to change the vocabulary. For our purposes, all right, all right. Let's go through my notes the other day. For our purposes, I think, but we're going to write this stuff on the board. We can say that cup is the empirical side, is the information side, what information your thing is based on. So if something is cup, that means it is based on good information. And if something is pill, then that means it is appropriate to something. Maybe like the last thing said. Um, and that you're advancing us. Because when people slip, they're not advancing us. They're just moving to a whole nother track. Okay. I think it's clear enough in here. Hopefully, we have a shared intuitive sense of these two words now. Anyway, so we'll get back to that. Okay, let's go through my notes. Okay, so on Echo 3 Echo, Echo 3 Echo, we started this Manalaris question, and then basically over the next several pages, hopefully you're looking at that now, the pages. Over the next several pages, we just keep trying to figure out what is Menalaris. Um, so we've got here 0 pre-check, 1 write down what was said, make it easier to work with. Let's not trust our working memory in our system. 1, by writing things down, we engage system 2-its, or 2-its better. Sometimes we're going to have to fill some stuff in. If they just gave a par, well, what was the implied soup? We're going to go over some vocabulary in our next video when we start on the whiteboard. I thought there might be some list of immediate disqualification, but then it ended up kind of just feeling like a list of fallacies, and there are hundreds of them. So, but maybe we can just do some important ones, some immediately obvious ones, or some ones that are categories. So immediate disqualification for ad hominem, or any kind of malenting. If the person says to you, "Oh, you're just doing that because you you think that you know everything." All right, that's a classic agit. That's a classic defense tactic. All right. Or even if you're not doing that, if you really believe that that's what's happening, either way, we're not going to be able to do a dialysis. Oh, sorry, not even if you're doing a Menalaris and you're just looking at somebody, maybe they're not malenting you, but if they're malenting someone, just malenting tends to be wrong. I know why we are hyper vigilant for potential threats, especially with people that we don't know well. Of course, we evolved for that, but I also know that we disproportionately assume bad intention because most of the people that we interact with, we don't know very well, and also because we're agiting, and a mallet is a classic agit. It happens even without an agit, but the agit loves a good mallet, a good unfounded attribution of bad intention. So that should just set off alarm bells. And also, you just can't have a conversation with someone that doesn't Bennett more than someone who mallets instead of Bennett's, you just can't have a conversation with them. All right, so I've moved to the next page. The timestamp. What are we at? 7:47. Okay, so we've got. So I had some other stuff I wanted to think about. Theory. We talked about this stuff at the bottom of the second half of the page, but actually, that stuff we talked about with K's. Talked about in the K's score videos. Next page. It doesn't matter. It's 2 pages. So at the top of the page, Menalaris is not about evaluating an argument, a case. Or maybe part 2 is, okay, part 1 of Menalaris is about determining whether a case is worth considering. First of all, is the person agiting? Are they protecting a belief? Do they seem interested in evidence? Do they have any authority to talk about this at all? Like, do they have access to evidence, or does it seem to just clearly be coming from their system, from their enduits, from their endroit? Is the case studyable? Is it even going to be worth? All right, so then I was like, all right, let's try again. What is Alaris? Application of errors. We talked about all this actually in the case score yesterday. If I remember, I'll put a little, no, I won't. But at some point in the future, maybe someone in the comments, some years in the future, will put the timestamp for when we talked about Alaris, Dialaris, and Wealaris in, well, the previous video, and also in the K's score videos, which was like 3 hours long. I don't even know which K's score video it was. I think it was one of the first ones. No, I think it was one of the first anti-livery videos. Yeah. Okay, next page. 0949. Okay, all right. Because we realized the bottom of previous shit. 1008. So at the bottom of we realized that all right, because we have okay, so should an alurist include critical research? Part of an alurist could be investigating the evidence of a claim. Actually, an alurist could be, does the other person have critical recognition? Then you critically reflect on their case, and then you critically research their case. Um, um, but the critical recognition, you won't be able to. If you first of all, if you have critical recognition, amazing. Talk to me. I don't know anyone with critical recognition really, or just a couple people, I guess. Um, but it's not going to be a useful standard because very nobody has critical recognition. So but there are a lot of people that have, even though they don't know about psychology, even though they don't know just how flawed their thinking is, they are naturally just sort of humble and they engage more with what is said. They hear that, and they're just less sort of committed to their thing being true, or they're more committed to taking seriously what is said. I don't know. So, all right. So then, now again on the next page. Um, So instead of disqualifying anyone without recognition, we need a softer standard. Oh, but then I was like, yo, but what if they lack critical recognition and also they're auditing? That still doesn't mean that what they're saying isn't true or useful. So it's really hard because even if I figure out, well, yeah, no, but it's just you don't have all the time in the world. So yeah, don't just completely delete it from your mind as if that were possible. And put it on a little post-it on somewhere. But also, if they're auditing and so on, they're not going to be able to convince you. Maybe you can jam with someone else, but maybe you just have to, I don't know. I mean, but if you're just desperate to learn as much as you can, then it's hard to ignore people just because they're auditing. 'Cause what if they're even a broken clock is right twice a day, right? Okay, I said in Manalaris, by studying the cast, we give ourselves the possibility, that symbol's possibility, to recognize mallets, right? Of course, by the way, for all of this, you have to know at least like a dozen. While we're here, let me make a quick list. Let's make a quick list of, I'm going to take a first go at 12. I texted someone, I made a list for someone. Who was that? Okay. Let's go 12 its that we have to understand. And sometimes these aren't literal its. This is kind of what I meant by ghost it, but it's just that it's a behavior of the set stem. And I think it's still useful referring to it as an it, even if it's not a physical entity. It's an event more. Okay. So we need confabulation. All right, hold on. What? 1407. Okay, confabulation, priming, framing. Nah, these aren't things that, these are hard to identify. These are like psychological mechanisms that need to be first understood. Affect, heuristic. All right, so to have some good critical recognition, all right, so this is our recognition basics. So here are the things you need to research if you want some recognition. I do want to put availability. You have to include confirmation, unless unless my sense of this list is changing. This is a recognition list. You need confabulation, priming, framing, affect heuristic, availability bias, confirmation, Dunning-Kruger. What about like groupthink and social proof? I'm going to put them together, one or the other. Groupthink, social proof. I don't know. Okay. Decision fatigue, or ego depletion or something. It's also, I think, called. Oh, cognitive dissonance. What about association bias? I don't know. I think I'm just writing the ones that pop out now. And then there's another one that I had. Oh, like maybe the Linda problem, like some kind of a introspection illusion. We need to do introspection. All right, well, we're just gonna have to stop there. No, actually, there's things that we can take out. Introspection, that's good. And then we want to do something with probability. That's just like a fun example yeah, that's just like a fun example. That's not actually, there's like recency, but all right, let's leave it at that. Okay, so for recognition, it would be that. And then for reflection, you would have straw man. You would have um, ad hominem. You would have, what was the thing I was just saying? I was just thinking. I don't know, but you need something with something about pathic language. Why were we making these lists in the first place? We wanted, yeah, certain basic ones that you need for, oh, anecdotal, that's what I was thinking. Like a narrative bias. Is that what it's called? Or like a small numbers thing? Um, you know what? Cognitive ease should be in our recognition. We'll drop Dunning-Kruger and we'll put cognitive ease. Okay. All right. So I don't know, but maybe we'll see that in the next video. Okay. So now we're going back to 2051. Okay. Part one of Menalaris should be the guided vibe check. Is there a par? Has the person given a premise, a thing that is meant to lead to their conclusion, or have they just affirmed their conclusion? In which case, all right, you can't, because you can fill in what the soup is, what the conclusion is, but you can't fill in what the par is. And it happens more than you think that someone just affirms the conclusion without giving anything that you're supposed to use as a jumping off point to get to that conclusion. So is there a par? And that's kind of scribbled in there in part one. Was there a piece of information? So a par doesn't have to be a piece of information. It can just be a reason, something that is meant to lead to that conclusion. Is there a piece of information? Did they say something, a statistic, some kind of a fact? How much emotive language is there? What are some obvious fallacies? Any humility observed? be great if while they were talking, they said, now, of course, we don't know this for sure, but just it seems to me that based on what we do know, that this is most likely. Or they say, or they say, hey guys, so I just realized I was wrong about this thing, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, uh, unless that's just because they got canceled or something. But yeah, if there's any humility observed, that's really cool. So there's got to be something in there in the Menelaus technique. And yeah, part two, you look at the cast, you write it out, you flesh it out so that the pars and the soups are explicit. Okay, so they are affirming that this is the case, and they are saying that because this is the case, that this conclusion is true, that this thing is true. Okay. And does any mallets jump out at that point? Part three. Okay, so they affirm that this stuff is true, and that if this stuff is true, then that stuff is true. I no malice jumped out for that move. That isn't a clear case of. Uh, oh, I have my list so far of strawman and ad hominem. Anecdotal. That isn't a clear anecdotal thing where they are making this conclusion based on this one experience or one individual and not talking about the general case. So now so no moves jump out. There may be no errors jump out. There may be errors, but no errors, and those moves jump out. Okay, so now those pars, you can maybe do some kind of a cursory look at like, are those things true? And if, by the way, if you look at two of them and you see that one of them or more, one or two of them does not seem to be true based on your internet research, which of course may have been flawed, um, then move on. Hoping that you looked at like a consequential par of theirs, and you didn't nitpick, find one that they weren't even actually depending on and that you thought might be false, and you find that that's false, and then you're like, oh, but actually maybe their argument is still sort of, well, even if you remove that fact and you just take the other facts that it's copying, it can pill from those, or it can follow from those facts. Right, and then I wrote here, if you not said, oh, he heard mallets and um, beliefs, no, and pars are true, and dude passed the vibe check, then allow the cast. Allow it, bruv. Okay, so this thing might be true, you know. Uh, Everything checked out so far. I'm not going to start arguing or let myself show how it's false. I'm going to let it live, I wrote here. Or maybe request a dialysis or a jam with someone else. You know what? Does a jam doesn't. A dialysis does need to involve the participants. I mean, every test needs to be represented. So extramonalis is more intense study of CAS, but should only be done if dialysis is not an option. To research the ESSEC, should I say ESSEC, and find better CAS than the proposed. Needn't be represented by interactors. Let's change that. In a jam, using some dialytic um, techniques, um, each Kes, let's put the symbol need, does not need to be represented, but in Dialysis, yes. Okay, okay, so what's this say at the top of the page? Um, you only, only you, oh, you alone can't, I remember what this means, but I want to, can't definitely, ponder plus say, no, ponder plus question. You can't like evaluate the other's Kes. Yeah, you alone can't really evaluate the other's Kes. You can try, but you can't really trust yourself to have done a good job. So Menalaris is about knowing uh, whether, if or not. Does that mean? If or not. Oh, allow the Kes. Okay. Okay. Menalaris is an individual's Kes check, a chance to recognize problems, a questioning. No, it doesn't. That's not the question symbol. Is that seeing, looking at information, and you want to try to shine? Okay. Dialysis is a technique for interpersonal Kes comparison. Oh yeah, see, compare, say. Okay, and then Wealaris is a Kes announcement to the other people. Okay. All right, so we're all caught up. Um, so now what we have to do, one more video. We're just going to put some vocabulary on the board. And then we have to do what we are supposed to do, which is go on Instagram, look at some videos that I've bookmarked, some things that Shope, some things that we disagree with, or maybe we'll do some things that we, no, yeah, no point. We're gonna do some things that we agree with. It's just gonna take forever to see possible errors or to, no, we're gonna look at something that Shopes and, or maybe a disagreement between two people and do that. So, that's what we'll do.